leave it all behind you. I said, take down everything that stands in your way. Don't stop believing it'll work out again, my friend. Stand out and be a part of everything good. Wake up, you're gonna be all that you should. Try out all the things you've always wanted to be. You'll see, 'cause I know what I know, that you've got it in you, and I see that you are a winner.
I would like to believe. I really would. I would like to believe again. Just push aside all the things that I've read and just go back to the happy state of belief that I was in before. Back then I was able to have this comforting thought. It was like my little security blanket that I would just hold close. I have never visited my dad's grave. I vaguely know where the cemetery is where my dad was buried, but I have never seen it since it was a pile of freshly turned earth. I've never seen it with grass growing. I've never seen it with the little white cross that all military graves have. I've never seen the tombstone, the little flat slab of rock with my dad's name on it. My dad is in my head. I didn't even get any pictures of my dad until I managed to borrow a few from my mother, and I had them photocopied in color at Kinko's. And that was the only photos I had of my dad until my mom falling apart, and I basically procured all her possessions and have most of them in storage, and gave away a bunch, and I have all her photos now. So her photos, I do have some actual photos now of my dad. But for a long time I had no pictures. Nothing tangible of my dad. I still don't have anything tangible. She sold everything when we left Wisconsin and came out here. So I never got a trinket, something to hold, to verify that this person existed. And all I had during the hardest part of my life, growing up, my childhood, when I felt like the only thing that loved me was God, my Father in heaven. The one thing that kept me going, the one thing that was my anchor, was my belief. Not just that there was a Father in heaven who loved me, that somebody accepted me. Somebody saw past the plain Jane appearance and the body that would never be perfect into who I am in my, and I don't want to say heart, but that's how I felt, because that's, when you're a Christian, everything is about the heart, which is just an organ pumping blood, but that's, I was a Christian for a long time, so I still tend to think of it that way. The person that I was inside. That nobody bothered to know. Nobody bothered to see. I would dream about the day when I would die and see my dad again. And when I was growing up, I kind of resisted growing, growing up. I resisted it. I fought against it. I tried to stay young. I wanted to, when I saw him again, I wanted to go back to the way it was. I wanted to be his little girl. I wanted a dad. I didn't want to see him and be older than him. When I turned 42, that was a really hard birthday. Because I knew when I died and went to heaven, I would be his same age. And I told myself that I will get to be whatever age I want to be in heaven. But that it's like, you can't undo all the things that you learn and all the growing up and life experiences. You know, you can't, once you've been old, go back to being 6 years old again. So as much as I wished I could be his little girl again in heaven, I knew deep down that was impossible. You can't undo change. But I still had the, it wasn't quite what I wanted, but I still had the comforting thought that I would hear his voice again and see his face again. Probably one of the hardest things for me is I don't remember. I mean, I can see, I can look at a picture and go, okay, that's my dad. But in my mind, I can't picture my dad. And in my mind, I can't remember what his voice sounded like or his laugh. Or how he looked when he smiled. I can't remember his body language or his posture, how he walked. I can't remember his favorite habits, his favorite food, all the things that make a person unique. I can't remember. All my dad is to me, I have some memories of my dad, but it's like imagining a scene in a movie. And now I have pictures of my dad. But that person that I love so much and I have lived hoping to see again is gone. So when Christians berate me for, you just don't want to believe. Well, you believe, but you're trying really hard to, you're fighting it, you're resisting it. They presume to think they know what's going on in my head. It angers me. No. If I could believe, I would believe. Because I really desperately want to believe that I will see him again. My dad. It's a long wait. I have waited a really long time. And most of this really long time that I have waited, I truly thought that I was waiting for something that was going to actually happen. And I would see him again someday. Because that is what Christianity fed me. And that is what all the adults said and all the religious leaders that I believed. Hook, line, and sinker. I have lived for that promise. So yeah, I would really like to believe that I will see my dad again. But that blanket's been taken away, that little security blanket, it's gone. Well, the fact of the matter is, now if God himself appeared in front of me, I could not worship that. Even if he dangled the carrot, here's your dad. If you worship and praise me, see your dad. I love my dad. I love my dad. I was such a daddy's girl. But if this God was real, if he really existed, then I would have to think that all the stuff that I see in the Old Testament that he did against all the crimes against humanity that he committed, that's real too. I cannot praise something and worship something that is a bully, that kills people for the most ridiculous reasons. Oh my goodness, you dropped the Ark of the Covenant. Or you tried to catch it to keep it from falling. You're dead. Oh my gosh, you dared to look inside the Ark. You're dead. Oh, see that man over there picking up sticks on the wrong day of the week? He's got to be dead. He deserves to die for that. That person ejaculated on the ground. He deserves to die. Sorry, but a promise is a promise. You told me that the first person that comes out of the house, if I let you win this war, the first thing that comes out of the house, you will give to me. You will burn on an altar for me, and I'm sorry, it's your daughter. Promise is a promise. I guess you'll just have to burn your daughter alive, even if it is your only child. No, I'm not going to let Pharaoh say, yeah, you can have your people and leave. I'm not going to let him say it. He might want to say it. But I'm going to harden his heart so he cannot give in and give Moses what he wants. I'm going to deliberately harden Pharaoh's heart. So he says no. So I can continue to torture the Egyptians. But just torturing them isn't enough. I want to kill all those children, all those firstborns, even their firstborn animals. I want to have a wholesale slaughter because, well, I just feel like it. I can't worship that. The God of the Old Testament, I can't worship that. I cannot praise that. Even if he stood there in front of me and said, hey, here I am. Here's proof. Absolutely, here I am. I might be afraid because he's incredibly powerful. Actually, is he really? There's a list of all the things he can't do, and I think it's longer than the list of things he can. But just on the fact that he is a mass murderer and he has killed innocent people, I can't worship and praise that. It goes against my ethics. And even if it meant that I was giving up a chance to see my dad again, it goes against my ethics. And I can't follow a monster. I wish I could go back to believing and not know all the things I know. I wish I could feel that there was hope that I would see this man again someday. But it's almost like he's died twice. Yeah, he died the first time, and now I have to let go of the afterlife version of my dad that I've hoped to see again. You know, that when I die, I'll see him. I have to let go of that too. So it's like he's dying. He has had to die to me twice. I have had to realize he's just gone. He has been gone more than 40 years. He is gone. And I will never see him again. And when I die, it will be like he never existed, because even the memory of him will be gone. And my dad was a wonderful human being. At least with famous people, they get to last a couple generations maybe, their memory. like Robin Williams, his memory will live on for a while, maybe 100 years or so, as long as the media exists, that his legacy is kept alive. But over time, that too will fade. But ordinary people like my dad, they don't get to last as long. And he was a wonderful man. And what's another thing that's really sad is I can say that he was a wonderful man, but I can't quite remember why. Because like I said, all the things that I thought about my father, I still have all those feelings, but I don't remember anything about his personality or anything about what it was that was so wonderful. Belief is easy, but once you lose it, it's impossible to have it back. And it isn't just because there's no evidence to show gods exist. There's no evidence. It isn't just because when I looked into the origins of Christianity, I saw how phony and man-made it is. It isn't just because of that. It's because the God that they present as, here, this is what we want you to worship, isn't worthy of worship. He isn't worthy of praise. My father, if he knew what I know. Actually, my dad wasn't a Christian. My dad was just a really good person. Supposedly he was saved before he died by a best friend of my mother's who went and ministered to my dad. And he realized he needed to become a Christian. So that was a comfort to my mother all these years, that Daddy was in heaven, not hell. Because if he hadn't, as good of a person as he was, I mean, if I have any goodness in me, I give credit to my dad mostly. As good of a person as he was, if he hadn't had my mom's friend minister to him and accepted Jesus, he would be in hell right now, even though he was a really good person. And how many bad people are Christians that would be in heaven? I think if my dad had known more about it than he did when he supposedly became a Christian, if I'm right about this person that I love, that impressed me so much when I was little, I really don't think he would have lowered himself to worship that either. If my dad knew what I know now, I don't think he would. And there's a part of me that wants that person that I loved, that I remember and wanted to be like. I want him to be proud of me. I want to be the kind of person that my dad would be proud of. But I used to think that he was looking down from heaven. And maybe that was part of my motivation to try to be the best person I could be. It's hard to let go of stuff like that. It's hard to let go of a security blanket. It's hard to not believe. Christians act like atheism is an easy road. It's not. It's the harder road. Realizing that you just have this one life. And every day counts. There's no do-overs. If you don't patch up a relationship in this life, you don't get to have another life to fix it up. This is all you have. And you kind of want to tell people you love them, even the ones that don't like you, but you still feel feelings for them. You kind of want to tell people, because you know when you die, that's it. You want to make things right, but sometimes you just can't. And there's no tomorrow after you die to make it better. This is getting long, so I want to end this. What I'm trying to convey here is that the path to atheism was a very hard path. Having my beliefs unravel that I cherished and held dear for the majority of my life was a really hard and painful thing. And I fought it. I resisted it. I went looking for answers to try to make it all better. Reassurances that, no, it isn't a lie. It isn't a lie. It's really true. And all I found was more reasons to prove that to show me that it's not true. Letting go of God for me was also letting go of my dad, of my dream of seeing him again. So no, becoming an atheist was not an easy thing. If Christians had any fucking clue when they judge somebody, what battles that somebody has gone through. Oh, happy little video. Anyway, I just want to put that out there, that Christians who think atheism is easy for somebody who used to believe could not be more incorrect if they tried. So that's all. It does make me sad to think about my dad, and one day I will get to Wisconsin and I will go to that cemetery and I will look at that grave and I will have a good cry. If you've been watching, thanks. Bye.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.
Share the same weather, winter or summer, May or September, the 4th of whenever, it's better together. Let's get together. Homeless